Today we're going to talk about 3 products that are launching. Visual Studio 2010, the .NET Framework 4, and Silverlight. There's some really amazing people with some incredible stories. I can tell you how we built these amazing technologies. Let's take a look.
We were coming off of beta 2 and we were getting a lot of performance, sort of feedback. We knew we needed to figure out exactly how stuff was going to work on machines of particular configurations. Went down to the Seattle Fries and went in there to go find a machine that would be a little bit closer to what some of our customers will have for typical hardware. Control panel said, hey, experience score 3.3. That means slower CPU, not as much RAM, things like that. And Visual Studio is a nice big process, so went to go buy the machine, and the salesman spent probably about 5 minutes trying to sell me on the machine, two kind of moves down on the bench, which was a heck of a lot faster, a lot more RAM, a lot more money for your performance for your money. And I'm like, no, I want the slow one.
We decided early on in the planning cycle that we were going to shut down much earlier than Visual Studio, since the framework is the runtime. We wanted to be ahead of the design time tools.
And so after we shipped beta 2, we decided that we were going to stay in what we call ask mode.
Ask mode is when the product units have to come in and ask for their bugs to be accepted.
And we ended up with a really gradual glide slope into release in a very controlled way.
One of the darkest days was in December. We had gotten the beta 2 feedback. Customers loved the product, but they were not feeling like the performance was where it needed to be.
The decision that we were faced with was this. We had an external commitment for launching the product on March 22nd. We knew the risks were sort of becoming higher and higher in terms of us being able to wind down everything and release a very high quality product. Risky, but we could say, hey, we're going to take the risk. Or go out to our customers externally and say, hey, we feel like given where we are with the product, we need a little bit extra time, right? That was the decision.
So we sat around a conference room, and it was me, and it was Soma, and it was Scott Guthrie, and Jason Zander, who was on a cruise ship on vacation, who thought he was going to be free and clear on that day.
The thing that came to my mind is the following. Very few people hardly ever remember when you actually ship a product. But what people do remember for a long time is whether you shipped a good product, and conversely, whether you shipped a bad product.
We decided to make this decision. It was a massive impact to our business, but we decided it was the right thing for the customer. We knew we had built the best version of Visual Studio we'd ever built.
2 hours before the build was supposed to kick off, we had a customer reported issue, but in the meantime we actually had to kick off our final build. About 6 hours after that, we decided that there was a righteous fix in hand that we wanted to move forward with, and so we kicked off a second build, the .19 build, running in parallel with the .18 build.
As part of the planning process, one of the activities that we do is kind of a formal feature review. We have this giant spreadsheet with every feature we could possibly build, from customers, from internal requests, to just crazy ideas. And so Scott and I and a bunch of others sit together in a planning meeting, and they come in and they say, this is where the line is. And they got 30 features all set up. And then we look at this and we go, okay, well, how do we get 31 in? How do we get 32 in? And by the end of that meeting, we're at 80. And everyone's trying to figure out, oh my God, what do we do now? We have to build all this new stuff. But that's how you get great products, really pushing people, the limits of what people can do.
The process, that it is definitely a love-hate thing. Everyone recognizes that we need it, but when they bump up against it, they have choice words and ask Matt if we can just remove that part of the process that's in my way right now.
Everybody has this uncertainty when they come into work. They don't know when they're going home that day.
I created these mails called State of Maine mails, which were devised in such a way that people were really going to pay attention to them. This was the important information they wanted here. There's some other information here. What people don't realize in this division was that I actually modeled it after a gossip column.
We're always looking for new things, and we're looking for constructive criticism. So we're looking for questions and ideas and things that we can help the community with. So we sort of live and die by that community engagement.
And the testers really try to take the consumer advocacy role within the 3 disciplines and represent the customer really well. And so at the end of the day, the customer is the people that we're trying to represent. We're the first customer of the product.
There's 2 takeaways for me. Never change your branding midway through the release. Second takeaway is you're never finally done. Done is never done.